Hey folks, Ed from Brain Pulp TV, and I'm coming at you with a new Let's Play. Now this year I really wanted to try to branch out and do a bunch of different Let's Plays for a bunch of different games, and I've been playing a lot of survival games lately. So I thought a good place to start would be some of the survival games I've been playing. Now, Minecraft is a game I've played for years now. Don't Starve is another great game. This War of Mine, a game that one of my cousins turned me on to, I really loved. And then most recently, a game called Conan Exiles, which has hit early release, is a game I've sort of started to play. That was, at the beginning, going to be the first Let's Play that I was going to be doing in this sort of survival genre. However, a game that I've been watching on Steam, The Wild 8, which you can see right there, it has just recently been put out in early release. So I decided to do the first of this series on that game. Now, like with most survival games, first of all, those of you who are unfamiliar with survival games are basically a genre where your character is put into a situation and there might be sort of sub things that you try to do within the game later on, but initially and almost throughout the entire experience of playing, your main purpose is to survive the environment you've been put into. Don't Starve. One of the big obstacles you face is that nighttime comes, and if you're not prepared by nighttime, you will die because creatures in the night come and kill you. In The Wild 8, one of the big things that is always there trying to kill you is the cold. So you have to almost immediately start making preparations to stop from letting the cold kill you in this game. Now, I have played a couple quick games of The Wild 8 just to sort of get used to it so that I could not be coming into this completely blind when I was going to be doing the video. So I will be able to give you some commentary on the things that may help you when you first start the game, as well as for an early access game, I gotta tell you, I haven't found a single bug yet. There's a couple things which I would probably want changed before the final game is released, but no glitches, no bugs, no sort of game breaking problems with the actual code or the game itself. So that's a really big plus in my mind to The Wild 8 that puts it over a lot of early access games that I've played. However, I'm going to go through what might help you survive a little bit in the initial stages, and then I'll tell you about the things that typically kill me in this game, because that happens every time I've played so far. Okay, so we're just going to start the game here. Now, as you can see, as I believe I mentioned before, you can play with up to 8 other people in this game. That's the name, The Wild 8, which is really kind of exciting. I'm hoping to be able to get like Travis and Steve into this game, maybe a few other people I know into this game. It'd be really nice if I could do a video that showed off the multiplayer. However, for the first few videos, we are going to be doing the single player. As you can see, there's also the load game. You can save your game and go back to it if you want to. And I have tried a few attempts at the game. Like I mentioned before, I died at the end of every one of them. But still, you can then go back and somewhat continue even after you die. You maintain certain items that you've dropped when you die, but for the most part, you're starting right at the beginning. Like your skill tree, for example, is completely reset. We are going to be playing the single player, as I just mentioned, so we're just going to click single player and pick our survivor. Okay, so here we are at the survivor menu. Now, each survivor has their own special skill set. Anna, for example, is a pharmacology student. All crafted medical supplies are twice as effective. Now, some of these things I'm about to describe may not mean anything to you, especially if you haven't played the game. You might sort of get the idea behind them, but once we get into the game, you'll know exactly what these bonuses do with each of these survivors. Next up, we have Robin, who is a young athlete. He's got plus 5% to speed, ranged attack power, and plus 10% to stamina recovery speed. We have Cole, who is the strongest of the group. He's got plus 10% to melee attack power and 5% to stamina recovery speed. Now, William, who, as they mentioned, is the best choice for beginners, and I would kind of agree with this, is he's got plus 10% to defense and plus 5% protection from the cold, which, as I mentioned before, is something you're going to constantly have to battle through the entire game, is the elements, the cold that you have been thrust into. So I found him to be quite useful as sort of the first choice in the first couple times I played the game. We have Chang here, who is the most intelligent, and he has a minus 10% cost to the learning of new skills, because you do develop new skills and you have to buy them by gaining sort of experience within certain sub areas of the skill tree. So minus 10% to the learning of new skills. You have Vivian, who is just plain lucky. He's got plus 5% to crit chance, plus 10 from behind, and plus 40% to gathering wood and ore, which can be very, very useful, especially early on in the game, probably later in the game as well, too. Jeffrey is the handyman. He's got plus 25% durability to crafted items, because there is a crafting system in this game like there is with a lot of survival games. And then you have Oliver, who is an entrepreneur, and he's got minus 10% to construction cost and to crafting cost of basic resources. Now, as I said, if you haven't played the game, a lot of these bonuses aren't really going to make a whole lot of sense, in which case I would say try the first few attempts with William, because he is really a good sort of like a beginner choice. And as well, too, I think the plus 10% defense and protection from cold will be good throughout the entire game, not just for beginners, but he is a good sort of training wheels survivor to pick. I, however, am going to be going with Chang, because after playing a few times, his minus 10% of the cost of learning new skills, I think is going to be so important. So we're going to go with Chang and see how that works out for us. Okay, so here we are at the beginning of the game. You wake up face down in the snow by the plane that just crashed. It starts off with a little tutorial. I'm not going to skip it because I want to sort of show you guys the tutorial. The movement is the same as, like 90% of the games out there. WASD, sort of up, back, side to side and all that. You move where your character is looking by moving the mouse around. Now you can see it's giving little tips here. Take a tent out of the emergency box. Now this is the emergency box. The first thing you're going to want to do is grab this tent and build yourself a little shelter here. You can either hit B or you can go down to the mallet, and then you can see that the shelter is here. Now, one of the things in this game, click on it, you build the shelter. Shelter is going to be very, very important for you. For several reasons. Typically, when I start one of these games, I'm already gathering a ton of resources because I want to get going really, really quickly. Because I'm sort of showing you guys what you can do, I'm going to go a little bit slower, and then I may actually restart and really play the game for real. But for now, I'm just going to quickly show you. The shelter is where you go to up your skills. So you have your little skill tree here, and as you do different things, like just moving around will gain you experience in mobility. As you gather supplies, you'll gain experience in gathering, and so on and so forth. So you can upgrade your shelter, which in this case is going to cost 20 wood and 20 ore. You can pack it up, which is important because at certain points of the game, you'll need to move beyond this initial crash site area and go somewhere else. You can also sleep. Now, in order to sleep, you have to make sure that you have 20 wood and 5 ore on you. Otherwise, it won't let you sleep. You can then sleep for 2 minutes in real time, much longer in game time, several hours in game time, and it will stop the cold and the hunger from bothering you. As you can see down here, this is your hunger bar, it's your health bar, and this is your cold bar. The cold bar is steadily going down. In the day, it goes down slower than at night, but it is always going down, so you're always going to have to stop occasionally and make sure that you warm up. Now, in the initial craft site, I did it again, initial crash site, one, there's canned food laying around because I guess it got ejected from the plane, so you pick up the canned food because that's going to be a useful resource for you. But in this initial part of the game, you can go near the crash itself, and as you can see, you're gaining heat, so your heat is going to be able to go up. You will be building a fire. It's going to be one of the first things that you're going to build. Right now, it's telling you to build a workshop, which is also very important. So once I warm up a bit, I'm going to start gathering up the resources and build this workshop. Okay, so I've warmed up a bit. It is getting later, so it is going to start getting colder quicker. So to get ore, you're going to click on boulders like this, and as you can see, you punch it with your fist because you're fucking tough as steel. You're going to gain 1 to 2 each time you hit it. You're going to want to gain at least 10 in this case so you can build the workshop. I'm going to do it till I gain about 30, just so that I don't have to go back to this afterwards. Once again, it will warn you when you're either very, very cold or very, very hungry. And as you can see, the world around you got a bit gray when that happened. If I click on the canned food, restore it, the color starts to restore to the world around you as well too. So there, I've gained 30 ore. Now I'm going to punch trees, which just once again shows you that you're as tough as nails in this game. And you can see down below here, your supply of wood is increasing and increasing. And you keep doing this until you gain a certain number of supplies. Now, this gets less tedious as you start to be able to build up tools that will be able to allow you to gain more materials quicker by hitting trees. So I'm just going to keep doing this until I'm at about 50. Because then I want to be able to build everything I need to build all in sort of one big shot. Okay. So now we're going to build, as they suggest, we're going to build the workshop. I typically build a fire before I build a workshop, but to go along with the tutorial, I'm going to build a workshop. And now it's going to tell you that you can rotate the camera, which you can. Oh, you're getting cold, so we're going to go and warm up. Actually, you know what? No, we're not. We're going to build a fire just so I can get that out of the way now. So we're going to build a fire right in the center of our camp so that I can access everything, even though there is... it gives me a bit of sort of leeway. I can go to the tent, or I can go to the workshop. I can even go to the ore and start gathering ore. So as you can see down below, I am gaining heat. Now, the reason why early in the game you would want to build a campfire instead of simply going back to the crash site in order to warm up is because you can gain resources like this over here. It's hard to see, I know. I'll move up a little closer. You can just sort of gather berries, which are useful to eat, and northern mushrooms. Now, the berries you can eat raw. The mushrooms you drag over to the fire like this, and you cook them up. And then the fire is going to eject them like a toaster with a really, really powerful spring, as opposed to just popping in your inventory. This is one of the things that I wish they'd sort of change in the game eventually. I don't know why it ejects like that, but it's a small complaint right now. And then you eat the fried mushroom. If you happen to find a mushroom, like we have over here, and you decide, hey, you know what, I can't wait to cook it up, I'm just going to eat it raw, because, you know, I've had raw mushrooms before and nothing's happened. This is what happens when you eat a raw mushroom in this game. You get poisoned, you get indigestion, and you start losing health, which sucks. You gain hunger still, which is great, but you're going to be losing health until you stop being poisoned. So always cook your mushrooms in this game. Same thing goes with later on when you collect meat from animals. Always cook your meat. Okay, now, I'm not sure if I mentioned it before. It does say here in the tutorial, you can rotate the camera in this game. As you can see up here, you've got the compass. That's the orange is always going to point north. So if you hit Q or E, your camera rotates 45 degrees each time. So you go all the way around, and you can go the other way as well, too. Other sort of important things is the time and the day that you're in here, as well as this little thing which will show you when the sun will be coming up. It gets colder at night, so you want to be near a heat source. You can get cold all day long. We have no wood, so we can't keep building the fire. But during the day, you'll get cold a lot slower. At nighttime, you'll get cold a lot quicker, so you want to be beside either a campfire, a lit campfire, or something like the crash site here, which generates its own heat. Now, I mentioned before with the shelter that you use it to sort of access your skills. In this case, we've moved around enough where we've gained 1 mobility point. So we're going to click on Sprint because it's the first ability that we're going to be able to learn in mobility. Click on that. And now we're going to be able to sprint. Now, you can see this is my normal movement speed. And if I hold in Shift and move now, I move a lot quicker. But this bar above my head is my stamina. That goes down the more I move. Now, it also says here, stunning animals with throwing rocks will make hunting easier. That's debatable. I'm either very bad with the throwing rocks, or I don't find it quite as useful as the game would suggest. To create a throwing rock, or any sort of tool that you may need, you go into the workshop. And once again, like with the shelter, you can pack up your workshop because you're going to want to move this with you, because you can only create 1 shelter and 1 workshop at a time. So if you're trying to explore to a distant area of the map, you may want to bring your shelter and your workshop with you and just set up camp in a new place. Anyways, in the workshop, you can see here you've got weapons, or tools really for the most part, because you've got stick, throwing rock, stone axe, stone pickaxe, and then later on you can gain other weapons as you level up your workshop. You also have recipes for clothing. Can't get any at level 1, only at level 2 you can do wooden shoes and wooden armor. Traps, a rabbit trap can be very useful because rabbits move quick as hell and they're hard to kill with just a regular old axe. Specials, which is basically tools you can build, or various building materials that you can use to build other things. So you got a rabbit's foot, which will give you a little bit of luck. Healing salve, which is something that will obviously heal you, and you can create this by finding herbs later on. Right now, we are about to starve to death, so I'm going to eat another bit of canned food. Once again, I would normally not be just sort of sitting around doing nothing and talking. I would normally be gathering, but at the beginning of this particular Let's Play, I just want to show you sort of the mechanics, and then we'll get into the actual real gameplay. Now, inside the workshop, it says you can craft various items. So we're going to craft an axe, but first I have to gain more wood. So I'm going to start punching trees again with my fist of steel. And I'm going to build myself an axe. Okay, so now I built an axe, and I can go into my equipment area and drag it and put it into my active handheld item. And you can toggle this. I'm just going to quickly start a fire because I'm freezing again. Now, you can toggle your axe to whatever's in your offhand, which in this case is nothing, by hitting X. So you're toggling the axe. Now, if I hit a tree with just my fist, I gain 2 or 1 wood. Now, if I hit it with an axe, I'm getting 4 or 3 at a time, which is much more efficient, obviously. So now I'm going to go back, heat up a bit. Okay, so now that I've warmed up a bit, I'm going to gather up some more wood. And then we're going to build ourselves a pickaxe and a torch. It's also a good idea while you're gathering wood to gather more wood than you think you need to build certain things, because wood is a resource that you'll go through far quicker than, say, ore or anything like that. So it's mainly because you'll be needing to constantly feed and build fires. So right now we've gained some extra wood. We're going to create a stick, which we've done, and we're going to pop that onto the fire. And that creates a torch. Now the torch will stay lit for quite a while if I can let me pick it up. Once again, we're getting hungry, so everything's sort of graying around you, so I'm going to eat some more canned food. And now I'm going to craft some throwing rocks. Once again, I don't find throwing rocks to be that useful. You craft and you get 2 out of it, which is great. At least you don't it's not just a 1-for-1 sort of ratio. But what you do is you have the rock in your inventory. It's clicked on it so that it's got the little white triangle in the corner, and then you hit the right click button to throw. Now, if you throw and you hit an animal, it gets stunned, but it gets stunned for such a short period of time, I don't find it to be useful unless I'm using it wrong. I'll try playing around with it more throughout the video because I could be completely, undervaluing the throwing rocks, but for the most part, I don't find them that useful. Anyways, we created some throwing rocks, which I didn't really want all that much, and now I'm going to create a stone pickaxe. And I'll show you now we can put that into our offhand. So now I'll move up closer, and we see we've got the axe right now, and we can toggle between that and the pickaxe. And like with the axe, when you're mining ore, you gain more ore by using a pickaxe than you do with your fist. You can also mine with an axe, like you can here, and you're going to gain as much from using the wrong tool as you would just by using your fist. So make sure you're using the right tool with the right resource. In this case, it's the pickaxe to gain ore. Switch over to my axe, gain some more wood. So one of the things I'll be doing in just a second is running around trying to gather up various resources like mushrooms. I may try to hunt some animals. I will be gathering up resources to upgrade the shelter. Now, right now, I have enough to upgrade the shelter. I have 20 wood and 20 ore, so I'm going to click upgrade so you can see what happens. Boom, you upgrade. Now, if you have 1 point, at least 1 point, put into any of these initial skills, you've upgraded your shelter to like level 2, the level 2 skills will then open up. For example, we have 1 point in gathering, so I'm going to click 1 point and upgrade my backpack. And boom, it unlocks Axe Mastery, which will allow you to collect more wood if you put a point or 2 into it. Right now, I find upgrading my backpack is way more useful because it creates this icon here, which you can open up by either clicking on it or clicking C, and it's an extra space for you can gather more stuff. So I typically put a lot of points at the beginning of the game into upgraded backpacks so I can have more slots and gather more items. And then I start to slowly, every once in a while, put a point into Axe Mastery, or the next one is going to be Pickaxe Mastery as far as I know. And there's a deer. We will be trying to kill that deer in just a second. Right now, I'm just going to start the campfire. I'm going to eat some berries. I'm going to eat the energy bar as well, too, just to gain a bit of extra health quicker. Now, I'm going to show you what happens when you try to hunt. Oh, there's a rabbit. Can I upgrade? Maybe I'll show you first if I can upgrade. I need more resources to upgrade. But first, we're going to hunt that deer with our axe. I've lost it in the trees. Somewhere around here, I think. If you approach animals in this game, there it is. If you approach animals in this game from behind, you can get it right next to them, and then you can smack them on the butt. And as you can see, their health bar goes down a little bit. If you chase them and you're too close, they'll continually run away from you. You can sprint after them, but sometimes that doesn't work out. So typically what you do is you keep running up behind them and you smack them in the ass. Now, I will try to use this throwing rock, but you'll see how short of a time they're stunned for. Like stunned. See, and it doesn't give you enough time. Maybe later on in the game when you can attack quicker, the throwing rocks will be more useful. But for right now, I'm going to come up behind him, miss him because he just walked away, smack him in the ass, and then maybe throw a rock. No, see, it moves away too quickly. So right now, I don't find the rocks to be useful. Sometimes when you get him in a corner like this, you can get a couple of smacks on him, which is great. Keep following. Now, he's moving farther and farther to the east, and I know there are wolves in the east, so I'm going to be a little bit leery about chasing him too far into these. Sometimes I'll sort of try to get around the other side of them and sort of drive him back into an area I know. But for now, once again, that was poorly done. I'm just going to follow this guy until I kill him. We're at the other crash site. So we ended up at the other crash site just by chasing this thing, and we're probably going to run into a wolf, which is going to suck. We gained the generator, which is the thing that they want you to go to the crash site for anyways. And then you got to try to find a place to use the generator. Won't last long without food, so we need food. There's actually canned food here, so I'm just going to quickly grab that. I want to show you what happens when you actually kill the creature that you're hunting, as opposed to just chasing it away. He's almost dead, but I swear to God I'm going to run into a wolf before I kill him. And then you get to see what happens when you die. Now he's in the trees. I can't really see him. He moved up there. I saw him move up here. There he is there. So a couple more hits and he should be dead. There, one more hit and he should be dead. Boom. Okay, and then he drops some drumsticks, some meat chunks or whatever like that. I've gained a bit in hunting just from hunting him down. Typically, as I'm hunting, I'll start gathering resources as I see them because you need to constantly eat in this game. But yeah, that's basically hunting at the early stages of the game. It's smack them, they run away, you follow them, you then go and hit them again. I need to warm up. Luckily, the crash site here gives off heat like the other one does, as you can see by this icon here, showing that we're in an area where we gain heat. Now, do I have enough to build a fire? I do have enough to build a fire. I'm going to build a fire here just so you can see, once again, cooking meat is just like cooking mushrooms. I only have 3 wood, so I actually need to gain some wood. Another thing that's important to note is that your items degrade over time the more you use them. You're used to this sort of thing in like Minecraft, for example. The pickaxes and your axes will the more you use them will start degrading, and then you have to build new ones. This is no different. You don't get to repair your items like you do in Conan Exiles, for example, but you have to see once it gets to a certain low level of durability, it'll actually warn you up in this corner here. Otherwise, you need to go into the screen and check to see what the durability is. In this case, for my pickaxe, for example, it's 53 out of 60, and the stone axe is 11 out of 60. It also shows what damage certain weapons can do. I'm dying slowly of lack of heat, so let's get back to our fire. Start up our fire. I'll stand actually between the fire and this heat source, so that I'll gain, hopefully, heat a lot quicker. And then we're going to cook some meat. Now, I mentioned before that it ejects meat very, very far. I think I mentioned before that it ejects meat very, very far for some reason. Far farther than mushrooms. It didn't in this case, but it has in the past really ejected the meat out like it's some sort of Wile E. Coyote toaster creation that he created to kill the Roadrunner. Yeah, not so much this time because we're on an incline, so it bounced right back to me. So everything I said before seems like a lie. It's not, but it seems that way. Now, I'll show you with meat, unlike with mushrooms, you've sort of seen with mushrooms how much health you gain. With meat, you gain so much more. Also, if I were injured, meat restores health right away. So you can see gaining, and then you become fully satiated, and that's sort of a little bit of extra time before you start getting hungry again. If you eat too much, I don't know if it'll do it here, if I do this. Okay. So if you eat too much, you get gluttony. Now, gluttony slows your ass down. Like, this is you being gluttonous right now. You are moving super, super slow. I'm also poisoned because I ate a bunch of mushrooms. I'll probably die because of all the mushrooms I just ate. Oh, no, I don't. Okay. But yeah, if you eat too much, you slow down to a crawl, which there's no real benefit by overeating because it's not like you get satiated for that much longer, but that's another thing to sort of look out for in the game. I've done that accidentally, occasionally, not really paying attention. I've clipped something I didn't mean to, and I ended up becoming gluttonous. Now, as we sort of Forrest Gumped our way to the second part of the crash site, you may have noticed that the thing it was telling us to do, which is find the flight and see if there's anything, or the second half of the aircraft, and see if there's anything useful, went away, and it got replaced with find a place to use the generator. Now, I'm just going to quickly start this fire again. There is going to be a place close to here where you can use, if you use your map, you can see things of note have different sort of icons. And now somewhere around here, there's going to be some place that you're going to be able to use the generator. I won't tell you what that is right yet. I don't want to spoil it for you. We will do that at some point in this video, or maybe the next part, I don't know. But yeah, there is a place to use the generator. But as you find sort of like storyline key points, this here will get updated. If you want it to go away, just click the exclamation point and it goes away. Things are also recorded in your journal here, so various objectives. Once again, find a place to use the generator. These are objectives that will update over time. So if you happen to save, go away from the game for a while, come back, and you can't remember what to do, just click your journal. If this isn't showing up, or if this is showing up, this should give you the next thing to do. Okay, and as if by magic it is now daytime. The reason is I had to save and then come back. One thing to note, when you do save and come back, your workshop and your shelter have been packed up and brought with you. So I don't know if this is intended, but one way of moving your shelter and your workshop to wherever you are, I guess you could save, exit, then come back, and then, because like right here, I have my shelter, if I could find a decent place to put it, and I can put it down if I wanted to. So that's something which, as far as the mechanics go of the game, I'm not sure if it's intended, but, you know, it is what it is. I'm dying of hunger. I don't have any food around here. Spinning around like a madman, so we may see what death is like in this game. Before I do die of hunger, I wanted to bring up a couple things. One, the map, which I sort of touched on before. As you can see here, I think I mentioned that important things are marked in the map. This is your shelter. Before, it was over here, because that's where my shelter was, over here. Now, the exclamation point shows where the second half of the crash site is. One thing to note is that this goes by sort of like square grids, and other than like the crash site and a few other locations, as far as I know, each game is completely different as to what is where on these grids. So it's going to be a new experience each time you play. So that's kind of a neat thing, one of the things I look forward to, and gives the game some replayability. Now, I wonder if I can find some food real quick, or if I'm just going to die. I think I'm just going to die. Is there any berries here? No, there doesn't seem to be any berries. Yeah, see, this is what happens when you start starving to death. Your health starts going down, and you'll get to see what happens after you die. So by clicking restart, you will lose all your current progress, your dropped items, and some buildings will remain in place. So there you go, you are back at the starting area here. As you can see, my campfire is still here. So if I go to the campfire, I don't have any wood, so I can't light it up. I do wake up with an energy bar, which is kind of nice, and I can then put down my shelter. So I'll put down my shelter, and I want to show you one thing quickly when I do put down the shelter. If I click on it, you can see my skill tree has been reset. So once you do die, you have to start from the beginning. So, okay, another thing with death as well too, you can see that every place I've explored already on the map still shows up. So that progress stays with you. So it's up to you whether after you die, if you want to be super hardcore and be like, okay, well I died, so I'm just going to start over. Or if I died, I'm just going to keep going on the same map that I started with. So that's completely up to you. I think once I progress further in the game, I may decide to stick with the same map if I die, but so far, every time I've died, I've just gone ahead and restarted my game completely with a whole new map. Now, I am going to do a serious playthrough, or a more thorough playthrough when I'm actually playing the game, as opposed to this sort of like introductory video for the game. But I did want to show you one last thing before I end the first part here, and that is the building of chests. Now, it takes 30 wood to build a chest. You pop this down and open up, and you have 6 slots where you can store stuff. Now, one of the things about chests, and I'm fairly certain this is intended, and I'm guessing anyways, is that I won't last long without food. I'll eat that energy bar, at least survive long enough to end this video. Now, anything I've found that anything you put into chests survives after you die. So if I had a bunch of supplies before and I had put them in chest, when I died of hunger there, I would come back here, open the chest, and everything that I previously put in would still be there. So that is another way to sort of kickstart yourself if you were to die and you wanted to stay on the same map. For me, because your skill tree resets, which is the biggest pain in the ass after death, I don't really see the point, so far anyways, because I haven't really progressed super far. I haven't really seen the point in continuing on with the same map. Instead, I just try to start over and do a whole new experience. Okay, now to test my theory, I am about to starve to death here, so I'm going to put 31 wood into this chest, and we'll see after I die, when I come back, if it's still in the chest. I believe it will be. Alrighty, so here we go. Death approaches. Sad but true. Chang is facing it head on, stoically standing in one place, not doing anything, as his life slips away for the second time in a few minutes. There we go. Alright, so we restart. We should end up right here. Yes, we are. And as you can see, the chest is still here, so is the fire. And we are going to open up the chest and see what's inside. And yes, the 31 wood is still there. And apparently... what? Apparently when you die, I've never seen this before, you can drop your own human flesh. Just looking at this meat is enough to awaken your animal instincts. Can be cooked at a campfire. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no to cannibalism right now. Maybe one day Chang will be desperate enough to eat his own flesh. But yeah, for the most part right now, I think we can scrounge up some mushrooms, and that would make a much less disgusting meal. Even though actually I really don't care for mushrooms personally, but still, I think if push came to shove, I would still go with the mushrooms rather than eating my own body. So there you go, folks. That was just sort of a basic introduction to the Wild 8 and some of the ins and outs of various mechanics of the game. I actually learned something I didn't know before. I learned that you drop body parts when you die that you can then pick up and eat. So that is a very interesting feature for a game to have. I have to say I haven't seen that in another game. There could possibly be a game where that is a thing, but I've never seen it before. Anyways, I am going to end this first part. I may actually call this part 0.5 instead of part 1. In the next part, I'm going to start a more thorough playthrough of the game and try to survive as long as I can and take you guys on that journey with me. For now, though, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, comments, if you've played it, if you want to give me any tips, advice on the game, leave that in the comments section below. If you'd like to sound off on your personal views of cannibalism, especially self-cannibalism, maybe don't put that in the comments section, but if you feel the need, okay, go ahead. You can also contact and follow us on Twitter for non-cannibalistic reasons at BrainPulpTV, or you can follow and contact me directly on Twitter at Geek Tragedy. And now that all that is said, and now that the campfire has been extinguished, take care, everyone. Thank you so much for liking and subscribing. It means a lot to us, and I'll see you all very soon.